Christopher, let me ask you what comes next, because at this stage, a suggestion by some sources that there could be a new meeting taking place in coming days. Others believe there will be a boost in August. And still, the other end, some are suggesting there'll be no increase at all. What's the most likely outcome in your view?
Right. So the market is currently pricing in about a 500,000 barrel per day month-on-month increase for the month of August. And that's a bit higher than the status quo of if a deal is not reached. And so if there's no deal between now and August 1st, which is again 25 days away, then we could see prices continue to rise because of seasonal oil demand peaking in August. At the same time, though, there's a lot of time left, though, in the month of July for a deal to be struck. And so although there's no meeting scheduled yet for OPEC Plus to come back together, we expect, in our view, that some deal will be reached by the end of the month.
Chris, it's Hadley out in Abu Dhabi. I mean, it's a story I've been covering for over a decade now. And of course, it's become incredibly political as the UAE seeks to project, frankly, a bigger share of the soft power, at least coming from this part of the world. We've seen a lot of instances behind the scenes where the Saudi and UAE narratives have diverged, whether it be on, geopolitical issues like Yemen, for example, or bigger issues like oil. But they've been grumbling about this, not just the UAE, but other countries, since as early as January, maybe even slightly before, talking about the baseline, talking about they feel that this is unfair. What position, in your view, does this put the Saudi energy minister in? Because he's really got a balance, right, between OPEC itself and Russia.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because normally Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the UAE have been a united front against Russia and Iraq, which have been wanting to increase production and see lower prices. And so it's been interesting to see the UAE to break away from this coalition with Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. At the same time, though, the UAE has been spending $25 billion a year on its upstream oil investment. So you can imagine that they want to recoup some of that investment or recoup that investment and increase their production capacity going forward. And so I think that's what's really driving that is as we're looking towards 2022, after the pandemic and after oil demand has recovered back to pre-pandemic levels, we're going to need to see a different world. And so I think the UAE wants to be seen as a bigger producer in the region.
And what about Russia? How tough is this for the Saudi energy minister to sell to Mr. Novak?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to watch how Russia kind of takes advantage of this row between Saudi Arabia and the UAE, because historically Russia again has been kind of the problem child between Saudi Arabia and Russia and OPEC, where they have nearly the same level of capacity in terms of oil production, and so in many ways I think that they view themselves as kind of equal players, but Russia's already been producing quite a bit more relative to its pre-pandemic levels. And so Saudi Arabia, I think, still has quite a bit of leverage in the situation, but they will be able to kind of, I think, still drive a lot of the leverage against Russia.